Dr. Saltner, you want to, oh, you know what?
Sure.
I'll
Ready
share.
to get kicked off?
Mm-hmm.
I think I have the easiest job of tonight. I get to listen, learn, and just do a welcome. So thank you, Shawana. So Shawana has an amazing conversation for us tonight. And so I'm really excited to dive deep into it. A couple of things that I wanted to share with everybody is this is an hour-long meeting, just in case there was timing questions on the website. This is an hour-long meeting, and the team has a lot to walk you through. And I'm very excited about how the whole year is planned and how we're going to look across the year and really engage in these conversations quite deeply. So with that being said, I want to remind everybody that since we have a lot to do in every single one of these meetings and we only meet every other month, we're going to ask you all really focused questions during this hour. But at the same time, we'll be asking for feedback in what the team is presenting at times. So if you find at the end there's other questions that are popping into your mind, please feel free to write them down. You can share them with me, you can share them with Shawana, you can share them with Dr. Yanni, you can share them with the whole team or anybody that presents tonight and their focus area. Because we know there's a lot to go through. We want to keep it tight, moving, and get the material out of you that we really need to hear your feedback on. So thank you so much for this. I'm excited to dive in. Shawana, turning it over to you.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. This is our first meeting for the 23-24 school year, and I'm excited to be a part of this wonderful school district and working with so many wonderful people. I am trying to advance. Oh, there we go. So our agenda, we had our wonderful welcome by Dr. Saltner. I'll review our purpose and some of our objectives. We have an introduction for those who haven't had the opportunity to meet our wonderful new superintendent, Dr. Steve Yanni. We'll talk a little bit about the moment of integration. Some of you may have seen that. This is the 60th anniversary. You may have seen it on the one in the board meeting in September. We'll review some of the DEI updates and highlights for the year, talk about some goal setting, and then some upcoming events. So our purpose, I just want to remind us that this is a time together of community voice. Today, we may have some students, but how we are talking about how community, students, teachers, how we're all connected and really our vested interest in what is the well-being of the lower students in Lower Merion School District. We will continue this year to talk about how each of us brings a unique perspective, our experience. That's all the diversity and equity. It all comes together. We'll recognize the value of everyone and what we bring to the table and talk about our shared vision for success here. And how do we do that with disrupting negativity bias? So we all have an opportunity to make significant impact on the lives of our students and our community. And our goal is really to create a positive change and improve the lives of all of our students. And if we work together, we'll get there. I always like to talk a little bit, just remind us of negativity bias is when we use more negative language than positive, when we always listen to negativity versus some of the positive that's going on. It does cause stress and burnout, and it clouds our decision making. And it is really a threat to the educational system. So when we are having our conversations, we really want to disrupt negativity. We want to have a harmonious conversation. We want to extend grace and assume good intentions when people are speaking, and just understand that none of us are perfect and that we all can make mistakes, and we don't want to be a part of the cancel culture. Negativity bias promotes resilience, and it makes us not be resilient. So if we disrupt it, we can continue to have resilience and grit. And it also, when we disrupt negative bias, it helps us to be vulnerable and be a part of the collective, right? It helps us to be able to put our guard down again for what's best for our students. And I use the word our because they all belong to us. And how do we, the humans, the human capital, and understanding that we are difference makers. So we want to disrupt negativity. We want to have harmonious conversations. We want to build each other up so that we can do this work together. Life is hard in and of itself, so we don't want to continue to focus on negative. We want to move forward. And so at this time, I have the pleasure of introducing our new superintendent. He's been here since July, August. And he has been amazing. I've had an opportunity to go to some buildings with him on building tours. He stops, he started to know all the kids by name, which is really amazing to me. And everyone is really enjoying. He's very personable. He does a lot of check-ins on the team. It has really been a delight working with Dr. Yanni the past few months. I call everyone my BFF, so he is my BFF. Dr. Yanni, take it over.
Thank you, Shawana. Your words were so kind. I wasn't sure who you were talking about at first, but it's really a pleasure to be here. And I know many of the folks on the call, but for those of you that don't know me, I am Steve Yanni. I've been a superintendent now for, this is my 8th year as a superintendent and 3rd district that I've been in as superintendent. And one of the things that I feel really strongly and passionately about is that we have to make sure that we not only create but sustain conditions for school to be great for every kid every single day. And I'm really excited about some of the belonging work that we're doing. I want to acknowledge that, no district, no organization ever has 100% of, the folks, staff, students, community members feeling that sense of belonging. So I talk about us being on a journey towards belonging and what can we do working together to make our district the best it can be for our kids. I try really hard not to forget what it was like to be a teacher, because I think even though many of us on this call are in leadership positions, we are all teachers. We're all teachers at heart. We have something to give to our students and give to our colleagues in the community every single day. And we also can learn really so much from those around us. Some of the pictures that you see here, these are some pictures from my previous district, although as we've been going around with Ms. Buckman to schools, we're quickly getting our own pictures here from me with our our Lower Marion students. And one of the things that I can say is that there is a real desire for this work to be not only happening, but really great for kids. Next slide.
Okay, Dr. Yanni. Here we go. Sorry.
This slide just goes over some of my core values. So kids first. I talk about our district being one team. So whether you're the superintendent or you're another administrator or a teacher or support staff member, we are all working together with and on behalf of our kids. We talk about we over me. So it's the collective efficacy of our work. Always looking at service to others and how we can build our capacity. So how we can be better tomorrow than we were today. Respectful relationships. Shawana talked about disrupting the negative bias. Respectful relationships. We're in a world that's really divided right now. And sometimes people feel that when you disagree with someone, you don't like that person. And I think we need to always honor the fact that we can have disagreement and still be collegial and be friendly and be respectful. And there's really endless possibilities via teamwork. And I believe that when it comes to academics and also when it comes to the social emotional aspect, the things we do with kids, such as the belonging work. So it's great to be here. I'm looking forward to being part of this conversation tonight and part of this work moving forward.
Thank you, Dr. Yanni. So as I mentioned, in September, we honored the 60th anniversary of the moment of integration. And we wanted to get Mr. Wendell and Mr. Michael to come and speak on it. Unfortunately, their schedules didn't permit us to be able to have them come. Ms. Buckman and I have had an opportunity to sit with them. We will record them and have a conversation with them this month, and we'll have it ready for our next meeting. But we did have an opportunity. This is a picture from the night that they came when the board read the resolution, and they were present. Prior to that, Ms. Buckman and I had an opportunity to sit with them, with Mr. Holland, and hear his story. And it's just so remarkable when he talks about the time, and he has such a unique perspective of what it means to integrate schools. And when he speaks about it, this is someone who could have had a lot of, anger or, had some negative emotions, but when he speaks, he brings you into the moment, and he has this ability to say, what did you think that the board was thinking? What did you think that the families were thinking? Can you imagine the conversations that were occurring in the homes? What do you think the teachers were saying? And his experience, and now he shares, he sent us a text earlier this year in September, where his grandchildren are now students in the school where he attended. And it's a point of pride for him. Nothing, we are not a perfect people. It's not a perfect district, but just being in the presence of them, talking about the times with segregation all around and being part of a movement that was occurring. I'm really looking forward to the opportunity where everyone will be able to hear it from them, and hear them speak of what was going on. And so we just wanted to still make it a placeholder. But next one, when we come back together again, we will have an opportunity to, hopefully he'll maybe be on in person, or that we'll have a recording of us having a conversation, because they did not have an opportunity the night of the board meeting to speak. There is a link. Everyone has access to the PowerPoint on the district's webpage that links you to the page for the moment of integration. So I did want to honor and pay tribute to them, because if it were not for them, then I may not even be in my seat. So because of them, I am the Mbutu. So I'm so grateful for the opportunity that I've had to speak with them. Amy, did you want to say anything about this?
No, I think you summed it up. It really is, though, a treasure to be able to hear directly from Mr. Holland, who was a student at Ardmore Avenue School when it was abruptly closed down 2 weeks before the start of the school year. So the students would be integrated into the other schools, which at the time were not integrated, and his experience. And he's a great guy. So it's just wonderful to sit and hear him.
Yeah, thank you. I felt the same way. Again, in Dr. Yanni's slide, he talked about, again, that building capacity for the work ahead. And I just love this quote from Brene Brown: in the absence of love and belonging, there's always suffering. So when we bring this work together, this hard work that we are a part of, we bring that understanding, and we're trying to build the belonging, and it is a journey work. And so we want to build capacity, build each other up, so that we can continue to do the work ahead. I wanted to share a few pictures of some DEIB highlights. We're developing this wonderful partnership with St. Joseph University. And these pictures are pictures that I went to the museum twice so far, but actually 3 times. But 2 times I was able to take teachers. So the top is the DEIB liaisons for Lower Merion School District. We had an opportunity to tour the museum. And then we did an activity on the art of perception and how does that relate to equity? And you're like, what does this have to do with equity? So with our activity that we did at the museum, it was looking at pieces of art and trying to figure out what the story is, right? And they connected it to our equity work, because we're always trying to find the story. This is not a single story. What was the thinking? What was the motivation behind the artwork? And so we're continuing this partnership. I also had an opportunity to take the art teachers and they toured the gallery. We had an opportunity to tour the grounds of the Arboretum, which was another a wonderful experience. But for both teams that went, their experiences were different. When I went with the art teachers, there was an art exhibit from some students who live in the inner city, and they were doing their first showcase. And our teachers took the time to write messages of encouragement to those students. And they had some trepidation, and they didn't believe that their artwork would make it to a museum such as this. And so to see our teachers writing messages of encouragement to these young students, these young artists, was just such a treasure. And so we're trying to make sure that we're getting out more and experiencing more things in our community. We're also talking about a partnership with some of the schools in Philadelphia, where the art teachers and the students will come together for some activities at the McGuire Art Museum on St. Joseph's campus. So we're trying to build partnerships and being really a part of the fabric and the community in which we reside. These are a few other pictures of the bus tour where we had some of our new teachers. They have an opportunity to go in the summertime during our training where they can go to see we do a bus tour to all the schools so they can really see the diversity in our neighborhoods and whose lives they will be impacting. It's always a wonderful experience. We also had an opportunity to be at University of Pennsylvania with some change leaders and talking about this work and cultural proficiency standards. I had an opportunity, Megan and Alexis and I were invited to go to New York. We had an opportunity to sit with Dr. Bettina Love and hear her speak on this work, who is powerful. And she gives you such great insight. And then we came back and we did some turnaround with our teachers on crafting our equity stances and making sure we are figuring out what we want to do as teachers and leaders in this district. That middle picture down there is the day of the turnaround train. I thought it was kind of cute because you get to see people dressed down, but we all ended up showing up with our Jordans that day. So it was Jordan's Day. Which is just a cute picture. And we have two of our new administrators in that picture, Mr. Ty and Mr. Pete. I can't pronounce Pete's last name properly, so I'm not going to even try. But it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And then Megan did this wonderful training with our teachers. And we came up with our word. What's our word that makes us think of how we're interacting with each other and with our communities? And so I wanted to make sure we have that. And then in the bottom corner is a picture of all of our equity liaisons that represent our district. Some other highlights of our wonderful Dr. Yanni at Convocation speaking, and some of our teachers. We also have some pictures of teachers, again, school pictures. So it's been a wonderful few months being here and being a part of this work. Alexis, you want to jump in if we can tag team this one?
Sure. So we have a lot of different opportunities for both our staff and our administrators this year around professional development in the area, DEIB. Some of it's happening currently and it's happened this summer. We have a 2-hour PRP session, and everybody asks me what PRP stands for, and I always get it wrong. But in essence, what it is a 2-hour training that every one of our professionals go through in the district. This year, we listened to the equity study and we changed the setup of that delivery. And so we have elementary teachers together, middle school teachers together, and high school teachers together in light groups. In the past, we used to put everybody in one big group, just because those light groups really lend themselves to some rich dialogue. In addition to our professional staff going through the PRP, and it's all around belonging. Our administrators we had a full day session really this summer. Shawana had some pictures of it previously, but it was a full day session on equity and inclusion for all of our administrators. And so Victorious Hall, actually through SAGE, presents this PRP to all of our staff members. And then additionally, this year we added in our instructional assistants. And so the majority of our staff is going through this PRP this year. In addition to that, we have restorative practices training that will happen for all of our professional staff this year that are not currently trained. So our first big round of training will happen October 31st and November 7th. The majority of our secondary staff that are not trained will receive their training during that time. And then our elementary staff will be receiving the training in February. MTSS is a driver in our district. We're in our 3rd year of implementation, and that is all about equity and using that lens to make sure that students get what they need. In addition to that, we have trained staff again this year on trauma-informed practices. And then we have building level consult and support training, and that really is through SAGE. Shawana and I meet with Victorious Hall on a regular basis, and he is doing meetings in every one one of our buildings. In person, he started with, and they'll go virtual and then in person off and on throughout this school year. In addition to that, we have all of our new professional staff that come in. You saw that bus tour. I think Dr. Yanni was actually in the front and you cut him off, but that was one of the bus tours. Amy and I got to lead those tours. It was the first time I was sitting on a bus. I've decided that I probably can't do it again because I got sick from turning in the wrong direction, but it was a really neat experience for our staff to be able to see the diversity within the school district. In addition to that bus tour, every one of our staff members participates in multiple sessions for training in the district, and they include things like Equity 101. They do their PRP in the summer. We always do a session on BASIS, which is belonging and social cultural identities in schools and supporting transgender and diverse students. And then we talk a lot about culturally responsive teaching, and again, restorative practices is part of that, and responsive classroom as well is a part of what happens with all of our new staff when they come in. So we have a pretty robust offering happening during this school year. A big focus for us this year is belonging. You've heard that already. It really is an undergirding of what's happening throughout the district during this school year. Shawana, what do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to share. And the reason I wanted to take this first half of this meeting is I think that sometimes our families and our communities may not have an opportunity to hear some of the things that we're working on. So there will be an opportunity. I just want for those who jumped on later for us to get into some small groups and have some conversations and then to ask questions about the presentation. So I just wanted to reiterate that. But this is an effort to give our community and our families, again, an opportunity to hear some of the things that's going on, because you're not always able to hear it, right? Or see the things that we're sharing tonight. So I wanted to make sure that you had an opportunity to get to know what we're working on. Part of the training that we did this summer with our teachers is on DEIB. And we talked about, and we did activities on it. DEIB is the plate for is the foundation of everything that we do. And as we're focusing on this work, we have to remember it's the foundation. And what are those things that we're adding to it? What can we improve? What are our expectations as district leaders, as department leaders, and what are some of the goals that we're going to set around it? And so our building administrators and our district leaders, we all set goals this year on belonging. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that a little bit in this section, so that you hear us talking about belonging in our work. But I really want to make sure that there's an understanding, and hopefully at some point we'll have more people to come in and give us an understanding of like the psychological safety that goes along with when you feel like you're belonging, and that you belong. And it's just not a word that we're using, but it's really the foundation of a lot of what we're doing. So we know that with our plates, everyone is busy, but diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging is the foundation of what we're trying to do and how we're going to set goals. And so you heard me mention some of the stuff with our meeting with Dr. Bettina Love, the professional development that we attended with her. And it really helped us ground, like what are the things that's important to us? Where do we stand? Where is our mission? What is our vision that goes along with this equity work? And how are we going to make sure that all of our students have that sense of belonging and that psychological safety when they're in our presence? Alexis?
Sure, thank you. So we spent a lot of time talking about that plate, right? And realistically, everything that we do is grounded in DEIB, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And that's the idea of the plate. And on top of that plate, we all have different things, and we all come in from different places. And so if you keep kind of going through this slide, because it's like one that moves, Shawana, you could see that that really we're talking about DEIB being the goal, but everybody's entering at a different point within their learning and their experience. And Shawana and I talked about it. Like, I feel like she's a rock star. I try to get to where she is, and I'm not quite there yet, but we're in different places. And so our goals are going to look a little different. And individualizing those goals are really, really important from our own standpoint. And so we had a lot of conversation about DEI being the goal, and that we come at it from different angles and we enter it at different places. And so where are you entering, and what's your goal for this school year?
And I think it goes back to also in the beginning when I was sharing about some of the goals for the year of even in our relationships with one another as a community of practice, creating this community of practice. I'm entering this space in one way, parents, you're entering a different way, guardians, community members. But our goal at the end of all of this is to make sure that our students are successful and that they are proud to be a part of and receive an education from Lower Merion School District and to reside in a community like this. And so even though we're entering in different places, but our experiences together, it makes up this system so that we are working together. I don't know it all. None of us knows it all, right? And so when we are able to have these conversations and be vulnerable and work together, our students will benefit from it.
So as I was looking at the picture thinking my hair used to look like that. So I wondered if it was a picture of me this morning. I was laughing about it. But the pointing finger is really important because our Achievement Imperative Task Force, if you remember at the end of last school year, we talked about one of the subcommittees being the Professional Learning Committee. And the subcommittee has goals and statements, and you could read what they are, but what we talk about in that particular subcommittee is that every member of our community could always grow, learn more, improve their practice, and that we really embrace job embedded, differentiated, individualized professional learning, because like we said, everybody comes in at a different place. And so we want to make sure that we're meeting people where they are and helping them continue to grow. And that cultural competency really is embedded in the Danielson framework, which is what we use to evaluate our teachers. It's a state system that we use, but Danielson really is a foundation, and it has DEIB embedded in it. It's the backbone of our teacher evaluation platform as well. And so looking at our professional staff and talking about that idea of Danielson framework, and I see Jill, but Janice Lipsitz is on our committee and has been a driver as well. But really embedding those goals, it's been a real push for us. Last year, we started with the high schools doing that. And this year we've expanded to everybody, actually secondary schools, not just high schools last year, and it's been expanded. So this has really been a key point for us. This is an example of what you might see when a principal's meeting with their either it could be an assistant principal or it could be one of the professionals within their building. But you can see that left side has our Danielson framework on it. And we ask all of our staff to come up with a growth goal for PLCs, which are professional learning communities. In addition to that, this year, K to 12, every one of our professional staff members has been asked to do their own personal growth goal around DEIB. And so a lot of times you might see some consistency from people, but we see people coming in at different places and picking something different to look at. And so that might be a way that we see that happening as a driver during our conferences when the principals meet individually with every single person. In addition to that, I'm going to just stay on that target for a second. All of our academic council was also asked to have their own personal DEIB goal this year. So that is every administrator that's instructional, and then we have some other administrators in the mix as well. Every one of us has been asked to come up with our own personal DEIB goal. And so when we're meeting with our staff members going through goals as we do, so when I meet with the principals, we talk about what's their goal and what does it look like and how can I support you so that you can support the people around you. And that's all a big piece of the conversation that's happening right now.
And I wanted to add, no, you're fine. And I wanted to add, we actually had teachers reach out for support also with creating their goals. And I've been able to work with some teachers directly. And again, it takes that vulnerability and saying, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? And how can I help you? And what supports do you need? And so we're having some really good conversations this year about how we're going to work on our growth goals, our DEI from a DEI lens. We use a Smarty Goal template, and I know a lot of you probably are familiar with SMART goals, but we use a Smarty Goal template because it also adds inclusivity and inclusive and equitable. And so how are you going to include to make sure that people who may be traditionally marginalized into these processes, what activities and decision makings are you going to need so that we are sharing this power? So this is a really good tool that we use. And again, how are we including fairness and justice to address systemic injustice and inequity and oppression? So as we as a district are working on our personal and individual goals, we're sharing that. And I'll tell you that I had a meeting with Dr. Yanni this week, and I had to share what my goals were as a district leader, and we are all having our one-on-ones. So this is something that we are making sure that it is a focus. It's not just we're talking about it, but it is really a part of the fabric here in Lower Merion this year.
So can you go back to that for 1 second, Shawana? Because I just want to, so SMARTY goals are actually the goals that we're using by either department or by building. So every single school turns in SMARTY goals to their supervisor, and then every department is also has to turn in SMARTY goals to their supervisor. Actually, Dr. Yanni sent his to me, and I was smiling about it. So it goes all the way through the superintendent's office creating SMARTY goals. And so we asked every single building and every single department to think about two things. They can have more than one goal, but one of the goals has to be around belonging, and not just saying we want kids to belong, but what does it actually look like and feel like? Does everybody have a trusted adult? What might that look like, right? Just as an example. In addition to that, last year we did the equity studies, as you know. I think everybody on the call hopefully is aware that we had the equity studies. And so from the building lens, we asked the buildings to look at the landscape scans of their building and look at where the growth opportunities were and create a goal around those growth opportunities. From the departmental lenses, we asked them to look at all the different scans and find something that that would apply to the department, and then write a SMARTY goal around that goal. So every building or department has two set goals. One is around belonging, and the other one is something around the equity studies that were done last year around the recommendations and how could we continue in that growth. So I just wanted to talk about the difference between those individual goals and then the SMARTY goals. They're two different things. And if you go to the next slide, Shawana.
Yep, the three big
and you
asks.
can hit the button again. We had a big three ask, right? And so what the big three ask that we had of everybody from our academic council was a SMARTY goal template, right? You had to complete that for your department or your building. Individually at academic council, we asked every member of academic council to come up with their own individual DEI growth goal. And then at the building level, all the principals were asking them to add to facilitate and lead professional growth goals for all professional employees in their building. That includes the goal setting, but also professional learning and training that goes along with that to make sure that our staff continues to grow.
Thank you. Our three is spinning. And so we're going to give an opportunity for you to talk in breakout groups to help us with as we continue with some of our goal setting and again, thinking again about from the beginning when we're talking about disrupting negative bias. We can spend a lot of time being upset about things, but we want to make sure that we're framing it in a way that we can promote growth. And so we're going to have an opportunity. We're going to break up into three breakout groups to see where is some of the evidence. We've shared some things here, but there may be things that you know of that you're in your group that are glows that we want to highlight and we want to talk about a little bit. And then and listen, again, as I've said multiple times tonight, we're not perfect, but there are some areas that are opportunities for growth, right? And understanding that, it takes time to do some of these things, but we want to make sure that we're having an opportunity to hear from the community at large. And so again, where is some evidence that you see change, that you see some good things happening, and those are the glows. And knowing that we're not perfect, what are some opportunities from growth? So we're going to do that in small groups, and then we'll come together and have, we're going to ask that one person in the breakout room be the recorder, and then one person in the breakout room will come back and be the reporter to the group of what they discuss. So we're going to try to give it about 7 minutes in the group. that you're in, and Alexis is going to put the information in the chat.
I put the link to the Glows and Grows page in the chat. I was going to set up 4 rooms, so we have about 5 per room. I could do 3 though, Shawana. If you want me to do 3, you tell me.
Your score is fine.
Okay. And you'll just get automatically assigned into those rooms. If somebody could just record by the breakout room you're in. So it says breakout room 1, breakout room 2, breakout room 3. It's a Google Doc. So if somebody's able to do that recording, that would be great. And I can open them and then I'll close them in about 7 minutes. Does that sound like a plan?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Here we go.
Bebop around to all of them. Alexis, I don't see the numbers.
You don't see what?
I don't have a number.
I didn't assign you to a group. That's why. Jen, did you get assigned?
Is Jen frozen?
Maybe.
All right, we have Sarah and
There are only 2 people in breakout room number 2 for some reason.
can we assign Sarah and?
Yeah, but they're not. I can. Sarah's supposed to be in that room. Do you want me to just assign them out? Because now it's 2 only in that room.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Why don't I move them?
Yeah.
You want to go into room 2 and tell them I'm going to move them somewhere else?
Okay, but I don't even see a thing to go into a room.
Go into breakout rooms.
Yeah, but I don't
And you
have
should be able.
I don't even have
You have
that.
breakout rooms.
I'm telling you. Oh, breakout rooms. Okay.
How about you just go
I'm
in?
gonna go into 2. So is Carrie?
And I'm going to move them right now. Tell them I'll move them into a different room. Okay.
Okay. Every time I bop and it says recording in progress.
It should be almost over. I'm going to close it in a second. I'm just waiting. The timer just went off. So
Yeah.
I'm going to close the rooms. It'll give it a minute. Okay. Are you good with that?
We had 3. Oh, I missed the meeting. I missed a room.
Let's,
So we only
I'm going
had,
to close them. Okay.
yes.
Okay. Oh, Sarah, I'm sorry. I just saw your message.
Okay.
You can finish that sentence another time, Kimberly.
It was like the fastest 7 minutes ever. I thought we were halfway through and it's like, nope, 1 minute to go. Yeah, that
I always
was
say
very
it's a
tough.
good conversation if you get brought back in the middle of a sentence, right?
So is everyone back? So at this time, we'll ask our reporters from each group to share out. And who would like to? So we're gonna start with group 1 because I know we closed the group, we collapsed the group. So do we have a group 1?
Yep.
Okay, group 1.
Do we ever? Yeah.
think I forget who's reporting out. I think either Dr. Yanni or I am. I can report out. So, or Dr. Yanni, are you there? I don't want to.
Go ahead, Jen. You're good.
Okay, so we talked about the GLOWs include two-way dialogue, responsiveness of the district when we have feedback, and work to improve through a continuous improvement model. That's something that is a strength of the district in terms of its capacity for self-reflection. Dr. Yanni got a shout out for his impact and building and increasing two-way dialogue and responsiveness. We have our subcommittee for professional learning, the impact of that and having that in place for K-12 is a GLOW. Additionally, we have parents, community members who make a difference, and they do that through ideas that move us forward. They do that through longstanding commitment and ongoing participation and communication. And they've been impactful across the system. The goals that we have, where everyone has an equity goal throughout the entire system, that was a GLOW. In terms of grows, there were a couple growing outward communication of all the good work that is happening, and just really trying to be more transparent with that so that we're communicating that more broadly and consistently, and then growing easy access to resource and news related to the work. An example was even just simple things like a meeting pop-up for meetings like this, similar to what happens at board meetings.
Thank you so much, group 1. We have this, we'll capture it and make sure we're continuing to work towards making some progress here in these areas. And group 2 is the group we collapsed, correct? So group 3.
I'll jump in since I was taking notes. And I apologize. So some of the GLOWs we talked about, we started off strong with identifying more student opportunities in connection with leadership. So student representatives on the board, the intent and some of the actual work that's happening in connecting diverse student voice to leaders in the district, like principals, the principals cabinet, and I think they call it different things in different schools. And also what Dr. Yanni has talked about in bringing students as a across the district to meet with him. So amplifying student voice was identified as a GLOW, as well as the bringing it seems, I think it's just like post-COVID, we're seeing more of the cultural events that are happening in schools, and that despite some of the challenges that we sometimes face in doing those, as we did last spring, is that we should continue to do that because it's important. And then some of the grows, there was some questions, and I think it's kind of related to where community has access to information. So like Dr. Yanni's letter today, there was a question about whether a community has access to it, because it was a really important letter that we sent out. And I shared that you can find those under the announcements on our website. Most of those that go out to all families do get posted there. So it was an opportunity we talked, and I think Dr. Sotner talked about maybe even making that clear during board meetings as well in the future. So all good stuff that we can certainly keep adding to. Yep.
I was on mute. Thank you, Ms. Schaefer. And group 4, who's the reporter for group 4?
Well, aside from the fact that we didn't have a little box for our glows and grows, but we whatever. Where'd they go? Wait a minute. I had them. Oh, wait, here. I'm sorry. So our glows were the translation work for School Messenger. A parent observed that their child felt less tension related to race at the high school level than the middle school level. That was a transition from BC to LM. Another parent expressed that they felt heard at Harrington High School by the principal, and that there have been better communications when issues happen, which leads to a better understanding of the school environment for the parents. For grows, so we've got the translation work in School Messenger. We're continuing to work on that for all of the most used documents that we have across the district to ensure that all families can read, understand, and access the documents that they need to sign and sign off on as their kids go through school. A grow looking for more diversity in honors classes, as well as the IB. And the point was made that doesn't just start in high school, that the preparation to make that occur may need to begin at the elementary school level. And we were just about to talk about whether it was like communicating the opportunities to students, if that was an issue. And then our session ended. So that was when we were in conversation.
Thank you, Ms. Buckman. So I'm going to share my screen one more time. I just wanted to make sure that everyone is aware, before we go into any additional questions, 2 upcoming events we have, and we hope that everyone who is on this call will join us on November the 9th for our CARE meeting, where Sage Wellness Victorious Hall will present, and we're doing some really good work there. I think it was last week. There was we were setting the groundwork, building relationships, and having some really good conversations. And I think this month we're going to continue with some goal setting, even for CARE, and where do we want to see the trajectory of CARE going. PV is Penn Valley Elementary School is having their cultural night on November the 9th. So we hope that families will go out and support that event as well. And so we're going to give an opportunity in these last few minutes. If you have any questions about anything that we discussed, that you have the opportunity now to ask your questions.
Are we raising our hands or?
Oh, yes, you may raise your hand.
Okay.
Jill has her hand raised.
Oh, go ahead, Jill.
I know, shocking. Sorry. I just don't get a little impatient. Cultural Heritage Night. I have tried to suggest after learning that Harridan does their IB students do the International Fest, or I think that's what they call it. And I went to check it out, and it was great. I it's open for the whole school, but I think it was mostly the IB students and their families. So it just got me thinking, how amazing the Marion Cultural Heritage Night was. I think everyone I've ever spoken with whose either kid went there or a student who went there as a kid, it's like one of the most outstanding memories. I'm sure the other schools do it really well too. But it just made me feel like, you know what? That could totally be a high school thing that really embraces these inclusivity and belonging and diversity goals. It was, and having it done in a way like Harridan did, it totally like student run, led, organized with some, adult support as needed. But I just feel like, and I've talked to a couple students, like a couple of my daughter's friends and some other students I've just met, and they seem to really like that idea. I feel like it would be amazing for community building. And so, yes, International Night. Right. I said fest. Sorry. Thanks, Jill. So I just wanted to put that out there and see if anyone has any thoughts about that.
Well, I'll take a note on it, and then we can circle back when we come back together again. So thank you so much. Ms. McGill?
I just want to say, if you do have that event, Jill, Chase and I can come and help too. That sounds like fun. The only thing I wanted to ask about the CARE meetings really quickly, are they going to be continue to be at 4:30? Because you just mentioned it, but I saw like night. Is it going to be at 4:30, or because like generally like parents at work cannot attend that meeting?
I know there's been conversations about CARE. Alexis, do you want to speak to CARE?
I think we've had some conversations about if we wanted to offer some at night and see if we had different attendance at that time as well. So I think that's part of our conversation right now. They are set for 4:30, but we definitely have had some discussions about it.
Thank you. Thank you, Alexis.
Could I just ask a question? I thought this meeting was that you'd visit that. So what is this versus the CARE meeting?
I'm going to let Ms. Schaefer answer that question.
You want me to talk about the difference? We have layer. I think that we have a good visual that talks about the different types of meetings that we convene. Well, they're all public. Sometimes it just like different audiences join. So CARE is a committee to address race in education that has been a longstanding committee of the district. Parents, guardians, staff are welcome to participate, and that's the one that was referenced that happens like around 4 o'clock on Wednesday, usually once a month. And then this meeting is a board committee meeting. So it's an opportunity for the board, members of the board to learn more about what we're doing as an organization, and also publicly present that as we did tonight. And also importantly, to get feedback from the community in our work. And we talk about AITF. So I'd love for us to, if I had the visual right in front of me, that might be something we could think about putting on our website so everyone sees that clarity, because you raise a really good question, and sometimes it does get confusing because we do sometimes talk about very similar things across those meetings. But it's a really good question, a reminder for us. It might be something also just to think about when we introduce the meeting, just a graphic at the beginning of the meeting, like you're here today. Tomorrow, next week is this meeting, and the week after that is the following. So great question, and I'm happy to talk offline if you have any other questions about just the meeting format and purpose.
Great, thank you.
I think I might have it, what you're thinking of, if you want me to try to pull it up. Yeah, give me 1 second.
And just to add to that, in discussion for this meeting, Shawana was sharing, these are the purposes of all the different meetings and the activities set in them as well. So I think it is really helpful to think about the plethora of meetings that we have in the school district and how there's lots of different opportunities to engage, do that work, and that there are different goals for each one. So back to that, what were you guys calling it? The plate analogy?
Yes. Yes, this is the graphic, Alexis.
I think this is the slide that we're talking about, right? And so you could see, let me see if I could do slideshow. Does that make it larger for everybody?
Yes.
Yes, so you could see the intersection of CARE, Achievement Imperative Task Force, and the Board Committee on Equity and Anti-Racism. CARE was the first committee that we had. It was really a grassroots movement to talk about race and education. We have a lot of community members that attend that, as well as a lot of staff members that attend that. Last year, we spent a lot of time around belonging, and that's where we got our professional development session for all of our staff this year. That PRP, that 2-hour session, really came through what was happening in CARE. The last 2 years, actually, those sessions came out of CARE. And then the Achievement Imperative Task Force are small committees that really try to push the work forward that's happening in this meeting and in the CARE meeting. And so like you'll see like the professional development group coming, and we kind of toggle back and forth between. Last year we got a lot of feedback for Achievement Imperative Task Force in this group, in this meeting, and then that was brought back to that group to then look at feedback, suggestions that happen in this board committee meeting on equity and anti-racism. And so it really, the Achievement Imperative Task Force tries to be a working arm of both of those two meetings. And when it's really working well, it looks like this slide where the cogs all go together. So you might see some repetition, but that's a pretty important piece. So we're getting feedback loops through the whole entire process. And so when it's really working well, you see the cog wheels happening.
And so, and just the part is you can come to one meet. I'm sorry, Dr. Sarner. You can come.
Oh, no, you can finish. I was just going to add some clarification around the board's role and how the board committee kind of differs from the other two. So you go first and then I'll tap in.
No, I was just saying that, you know, that the community is welcome to attend both the CARE meeting and the this anti-equity and anti-racism committee meeting. So, Dr. Saltner.
Thanks. And then I'll be brief on this. But when we think about the committee meetings of the board, the goal of a board is to really look at policy and how that policy is working across the district with that unique focus. So we're looking at what is the work that's being done, what are the goals that are being set, and then where are we achieving goals, and where are we looking for more growth and opportunity, which is very much what this topic was on tonight. So that you might dive into other topics really deeply in those other two committees. The board committee is really to look at, like, here's our policy, here's our goals, how are we moving them forward, where do we need that kind of like tweak the system and move it in different directions. I sometimes think if the curriculum committee is the easiest committee to see this in, because curriculum's like, the role of the curriculum committee is the board is to look at curriculum, review it, and then decide to move it to the main board meeting for approval. So it's really about the work of the board in policy and bringing the community into that work. But it does sometimes get really confusing. I'm not going to lie.
Ms. McGill, you had a question. Did I cut somebody? Ms. McGill?
No, sorry. This was Jillian. I just was.
Oh, okay, Ms. Johnson.
If you wouldn't mind giving me 10 seconds to just talk about that. It kind of sounds like then that CARE is the idea generator, and then this committee or this meeting is where the policy should be addressed on, you know, sort of the whatever the ideas that bubble up to the top in CARE. As a result of that, I'll just put in another plug for making the CARE meetings accessible for more parents, rather than during the work day, and, you know, probably different days, different times, in all fairness, so that various people have the time an opportunity to attend. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Johnson. Ms. McGill, did you have your hand up, or was that?
Yeah, I just wanted to. I know that I've spoken about this numerous times, and to Dr. Yanni and Megan and you too, Shawana. I just wanted to address again the process for children being recommended for classes. You know, this is something that I'm very passionate about, because I feel like in some cases it victimizes children in this district. And as we're coming up on another year of the recommendation process, it's my hope that we're putting something into place so that, you know, it's not an opinion of a teacher concerning a child who says, oh, well, he this or he that, and I don't think he can handle a specific class. I really feel very strongly that and I know that, me and a parent, we were talking earlier that this needs to happen earlier, 4th grade, 2nd grade, and I get that. But I think when we come to the high school level in the 8th grade, we're giving recommendations to children. And, I don't know that there's a formal way in which it's being done. And I really hope, and I'm confident that Dr. Yanni will work with this, but I really hope that we're pulling data and we're looking at this, and then we're not sitting here, in 4 years when my son is a senior saying, how come we only have 3 Black kids in this class? And we've been able to kind of figure out that this recommendation process is very damaging to children. I did a parental override myself, and my son is performing very well, and he neck and neck with his peers. So I feel like, if I would have listened to the teachers, he would be in, a situation that he should not be in. So I want to say, as the recommendation process is coming up, I really hope that we're taking a firm look at it and figuring something out so we don't have a slew of minority students who aren't being recommended for higher classes this year.
Thank you for bringing that up to us, and I appreciate parents like you that keep us honest and keep us make sure that we are looking at these things. I actually today met with a teacher who does provides some with one of the math specialists, and we were looking at and having these conversations of when should we start having these conversations. So I just want you to know that you bringing this to our attention. We are looking in these areas. I think, and I'm not saying it because I've been here, but I think that it's been ongoing. But I'll let the team, other people from the team speak. But I did today about a 2-hour conversation with a teacher, who's one of our math specialists, about when is the right time. What should we be looking for? Are we looking at these forms? She had already had some conversations with the curriculum team. And so I just want to reassure you that we're having these conversations, and I can share more with you at a later time as we're continuing these conversations, and not just conversations to have the conversations, but to really look at the system of how we're evaluating. And we do listen, and we take what you're saying very seriously. Does anyone else want to chime in?
Thank you.
I would just like to comment on full day kindergarten as an equity issue. And I think that we have to address that very seriously, because there are students who can't afford daycare or special private kindergarten, and they're coming in at with a challenge compared to the students that have been in full day kindergarten.
Thank you, Ms. Jenkins.
I think to both of those points, 2 of my goals, superintendent goals this year, one is to look at service delivery and how we roster kids. So that work is well underway. And then hopefully within the next week or so, members of my cabinet will get the first look at the numbers from the Montgomery County Planning Commission. So we'll be able to continue that planning around full day K.
Thank you. And our last person, Miss Allie. Sorry.
That's okay. So I had my thing that I just thought of also that would be really helpful is to have, and I've been talking to the ISC about this, and I would love to have the support of the administration school board, is to bring more assemblies into our schools. I know that I'm with a group I hear all these assemblies happening in other schools, and I like to see that happening more in our school, especially since there's not that many field trips either. I remember one of the things that the program, I don't know if you guys remember, it was called Waterbound. And it was a program that kind of encompassed all kinds of learning. And that was the best way for my children to learn. They also got to go on field trips, not very far, like Rolling Rock, and write, on a rock in the forest and be creative that way. And those kinds of things, I think, helps a lot of children to be able to learn, children with different learning style would get a lot out of it. So I like to see more assemblies and more field trips for our kids. And I would love for like you guys to support me, either meet with me so that we could figure out how we can get these into the schools. I do know with the other schools, their HSA has a line budget for this, and they get a lot of monetary support from the school district. So I don't think it works like that here. And with the pandemic, a lot of things went. So I like to see that come back.
Thank you so much. I wrote it on the list. I really appreciate it. Thank you all for being a part of this evening, and thank you for sharing your voices, because again, our collective voices are what's going to make the difference in the lives of our children. And I know that the administrative team, the board, the teachers, administrators, we enjoy what we do, and we're just so grateful to be a part of your community and a part of your children's lives. So thank you for having us this evening, and we will see you again in December. And hopefully we'll be able to have our team, the two gentlemen come and speak to us about the moment of integration, as well as some other good stuff. So if you have any suggestions, or if there's anything else you would like to share with us, please feel free to email. I will say, Dr. Yanni, before we can get back to it, he usually on it. So if all of our names on it, he usually gets back to community members. But if you send us emails, we do read them, and we do appreciate you, and we value your opinions. And we're so grateful for each and every one of you. So have a wonderful evening, and thank you again.